BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests and events with first-to-market odds and lines. What's up, y'all? It's your man, Lloyd Spence. And listen, all you got to do is find your reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf, all at betonline.ag. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports information, from live in-game betting, props, and futures. So, head to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BLEAV50, that's BLEAV50, B-L-E-A-V 50, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. It's BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Tell them the Noisemakers sent you.
Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Yeah. Popcorn World. Can I make you move now? Yes, I can. So you can get this groove in a bag of a can. Put the make it round the world and the holes in your hand. Popcorn World. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. I said popcorn make you smile. Ah. 250 flavors. Popcorn World. Popcorn World. Popcorn World.
You're now listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Parity Hall of Famer Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course Mama Noise's name, Lloyd Spence. And now it's time for BLEAV in the ACC.
We are in the Heisman House, and we are back in.
Well, one of us is in the Heisman House.
Well, listen, when one of us makes it to the Heisman House, Kendrick, we all make it to the Heisman House. That's how this works. We're family. Remember the song "We're Family Like a Giant Tree," that kind of thing?
Uh-huh.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose? We lost our key to the Heisman House.
There he is. There's Charlie Ward. Now, when one of us is out of the Heisman House, and then we're all out of the Heisman House. That's also how it works. So
I just got one question for our key to the Heisman House.
Yes. Did you hear us?
Can you hear us, Coach Junior?
Doesn't look like you can hear us.
No. But I am interested in watching him get this thing back together.
This is fascinating TV.
It's like seeing Charlie in the Wild.
Right. I'll say this while he's getting his sound together there. It did not dawn on me the significance of what took place until I really paid attention to the commercial. And I was like, oh yeah, it's Bryce Young. That's cool. So who else is in the Heisman House? That was my initial thought, like, oh, who else is in the Heisman House? Then it dawned on me, wait a minute. That's Bryce Young. He's in the Heisman House during the season. Oh, I got it now.
He's a Dr. Pepper commercial too.
Oh man, Bryce Young cashed in big time this weekend. Let me just tell you.
And didn't win the championship. That's what's crazy.
Right, and didn't win. Well, listen. Listen.
I can see the Heisman House, but the Dr. Pepper one, I'm like,
No, I can see all of it. Listen, all jokes
Yeah.
aside and allegiances and everything else aside, that
Yeah.
kid is gonna be special. I mean, he can play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he can play.
Now, can our key to the Heisman House hear us now?
Can you hear us, Charlie?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome.
I've got one question for you.
Go ahead.
What card game were you playing with Baker Mayfield and the Oklahoma State mascot?
Great question.
It didn't look like Uno.
It was supposed to be poker.
I was gonna say it looked like high stakes poker where mascot heads were on the table.
Heads could roll.
Listen, you did. First of all, shout out to you, Charlie. No humble flex, just a pure on shout out. You did an outstanding job, sir. I saw your poker face. You look good. You look good, man.
And he also looked perplexed by the Cowboy.
Right. Listen, I've seen that dude many times. I'm perplexed by him, and I've never played poker with him. That is a weird looking mascot to me.
It is. Very his head is huge. I still try to figure. I kept asking him, like, man, how do y'all carry this around? Like during the like when you travel?
Yeah.
It's got to be heavy, right?
It is very heavy. It's like 30. What I think he said there was 2 of them, and one's like 39 pounds, and another one's like
God.
40 or something. They're very heavy.
And he has to walk around the entire day with that thing on. Well, I'm sure he takes it off and on, but he chose to do that.
They have a system. I mean, most of these mascots, I found out, most of them, especially if they're in like huge costumes, they have quite a few of them, and so they kind of, it's not the same one. And a home game, I said a home game, but on the road, I think there may be 1 or 2, or they have to do it themselves. But it was very interesting getting a chance to talk to the mascots. They were very, very insightful and kind of let you in on a few of their deals. But it's to be expected. I mean, you put on that costume, you gotta take breaks.
Oh, lots of them, I'm sure. Lots of them, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Lots of them, I'm sure. Okay, full disclosure. I'm great. Full disclosure, you guys, right now. Charlie, I couldn't wait for the weeks to unfold to see all the Heisman commercials. So I have seen all of the shot commercials, and I have to say, you have some that are coming up that are outstanding. So I am first of all, I'm super proud of you because you did a phenomenal job, as I knew you would. I mean, we're talking about a star of one of the best shows on Netflix, right? So that's number 1. Then number 2, Kendrick, I don't know if you've seen the rest of them, but he's got I'm telling you, he's got some. You're gonna be like, that's our guy. You're gonna be proud to know to be able to walk around the streets and say Charlie Ward is your guy. You're gonna be able to say that. I'm just telling you right now.
I do that anyway.
Exactly.
My good friend Charlie Ward.
There you go. So this is gonna be. I'm just letting you know he's got some good ones coming down the pike. So I'm excited for the world to see the deep and depth of your acting prowess.
I don't know how deep it is, but it was relatively fun.
Yeah, it looked like you guys were having a good time, and that first one they put out was a really good one. That was a really funny premise. And we were just saying, go ahead.
Charlie, was the cardinal bird in any of those?
No,
he didn't make it.
Because the cardinal bird that U of L's had the last couple of years, this guy's like 6'5". He's enormous. He's enormous. He's at least 6'5". He might be 6'6", 6'7". I mean, he looks like a basketball player.
Wow.
So I wanted to have Charlie's reaction to seeing a mascot that's that big. I mean, he's huge.
No, they didn't have the cardinal.
Yeah, he's huge.
Well, maybe once Lamar gets his contract done, they'll invite him to the Heisman House next year. So we'll see how that goes.
It's weird how little he's only been in a handful of those commercials.
Yeah. Speaking of Lamar, since this is an ACC show, I'm going to take a liberty here before
That's
we
what
get to
we call in the business a segue.
that. Right, and relatively smooth, if I do say so myself. Since we have an NBA legend with us today who has negotiated contracts, not maybe himself, but has been had to negotiate contracts in the past. I find his situation very, very fascinating, and I'll tell you why. Because you hear everybody talk about, he shouldn't step on the field without the deal that he wants, and there is the propensity of him getting hurt, and he announced yesterday that there's a self-imposed deadline of tomorrow, which would be Friday, huh?
He said that from the get-go.
Right, he's always said he's not going to negotiate in season, so Friday is the deadline. And I remember, and one of the questions that got asked to him was, how close are you then? If Friday is the deadline, how close are you? And his answer was, so Lamar, you have to ask them. I don't know how close we are. I know what I've asked for, but I don't know how close we are. So it's an interesting and fascinating situation, but I do want to ask Charlie. Charlie, you've negotiated contracts and before. Is there any way you would have set foot into Madison Square Garden without the deal that you wanted for your next contract?
Well, I mean, in my situation, I had a player option for my 5th year. So that was what it was. So for him, I mean, he's still under contract and he's trying to get more years added to his contract, I do believe. And so when it's all said and done, I mean, the deal is not done. You go out and play in good faith, meaning you honor your contract. And I do believe, I'm just a big believer in, if you do the right things, God will honor your heart. And if you're under contract and you go out and play, God will honor you with probably a greater contract than what you probably expected. And people always play the hypothetical game. And what if? Well, if we all played that, we would never probably do anything or get anywhere if we looked at it from that perspective. But I'm just a big believer that if you do the right things in life, God will honor your heart. And even if it doesn't look like it's the right thing in everybody else's eyes outside, but if you have the right spirit about it and you're going about doing the right things as far as processes and setting a deadline and saying, I'm not going to negotiate during the season, you honor that. That's doing the right thing. You said it, you put it out there, and then you go back and say, well, I'm not going to do it. Then now you're talking about a trust issue and those types of things. Not saying he can't do that, but I still don't think he's the one. It's hard for a player to, I mean, he can be in the talks, but there has to be some form of a lawyer involved in this matter.
Sure.
Lawyers are a little bit cheaper probably than an agent.
Yeah.
Just because they have an opportunity to, I mean, the numbers are the numbers. And so who you're talking to and how long you talk to them, when we talk about billable hours, it's not a big, long deal as opposed to an agent where they may get a percentage. With a lawyer, you may get billable hours. So it's a catch, especially if you're talking about the money that he's talking about getting. A lawyer probably would be the best bet.
Joe Buck said something this morning that I thought was interesting, and Kendrick, you probably heard it as well. He said it's got to be difficult negotiating your contract and hearing from the people that you're negotiating from, this is the reason why we don't think you're worth that amount.
Right.
Now, I'm 100% sure, not even 99.9, but I'm 100% sure they're not saying it that way. I'm sure they're more like, well, Lamar, we feel like this would be best for the team, or blah, 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 blah. I'm sure the rhetoric is different from that. But I do want to ask you that, Charlie. How difficult is it sitting across from someone in a room, if you've ever had to do that, and hearing, or should Lamar be sitting across from someone in the room and having to negotiate value? And is there a debilitation towards that? Like, is that kind of hard to do, to sit in the room and say, well, we don't really think you're worth that, that kind of situation?
No, I mean, it's just like sitting in a room with your wife and hearing things that you may not want to hear, but you still have to live with her, respect her, and all those things like that. And so I just think it helps with, the relationship as well, because it's not all that. I'm sure there's some positives that they see as well. So it's not all that, this is what we don't see, or the reason why, those types of things. And so those are the things that get out that everyone wants to hear. But there has to be other things that they're talking about when we're talking about negotiation. I mean, they put numbers out there, and either you can do it or you can't do it, or we can find a way to do it. And so I don't know if it's trying to devalue him in any way, because his value is what it is. And his numbers speak for themselves. And so I don't think sitting across from the people who are, in management will hurt their relationship in any form or fashion.
I want to ask you both this question, just point blank, and I'd love to hear both of your thoughts. Your gut opinion, because the number that's been floated out there is that he wants a number similar to and a contract similar to what Deshaun Watson got, and you look at their numbers, they're comparable. And oh, by the way, Lamar has an MVP. Do you think he is worth, and I use the air quotes for that, $250 million guaranteed?
I do, when you give him the fact that he has won an MVP. I mean, that's major. And given the fact that he doesn't have off the field problems like Deshaun Watson does. I know a lot of people, and I agree that people are like, Cleveland's just crazy, they're an outlier and blah, blah, blah. That's true. And while that is true, it's a sign of a desperate team. That's true. Right. That also sets the precedent. And so just because Cleveland did something crazy doesn't mean that you can't go in there and negotiate. If that's the standard they set, that's the standard they set. That's how it goes. That's how it works in contract negotiations, especially in that league. So, yes, if that's what Deshaun Watson got, yeah, Lamar should be asking for every bit of that and more.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I definitely understand that piece of it. However, you can't always look at one organization's situation and determine that that's the same situation for your organization, because when you start looking at businesses, somebody may pay their CEO a certain amount of money, and you may have the same business, but over here we may not see that. Our business may be at a different level. And so I agree. I mean, I'll be asking for it as well, that amount, because someone has set the precedent, but I wouldn't go any further down, I should say, from that piece, because of what they've done. So if they came back and said, I give you the same contract, $246 million guaranteed, would you take it?
Woo!
I do always admire the gall of these people that turn down these contracts.
Listen.
I'm asking because
that's a great question. I think that's the right question. I
want 250,
right?
But they're give me 246 million.
Oh gosh, how do you turn that down?
So that's my point. Like, once you start getting to a certain level,
yeah,
$4 million is not like a huge thing. And the only issue is pride,
right?
Because I feel like I should be getting a certain amount, and I want to be the highest paid. All that stuff, it comes down to pride, which that's the way some people go about the business. I don't see Lamar being that type of guy personally. But then again, we talk about business, but we're talking about $4 million, which.
I was gonna say I don't see him as well, except right now he is that guy. Like he's like, because I'm sure I would guess they've offered him at the height 230 guaranteed. If I had to guess, I would say they're probably at 230 right now. Now 230 is an insane amount of money guaranteed, right? But he's saying, no, I need that other $16 or $20 million. Well,
I don't want to put those words. I have not heard that from Lamar.
We have not heard anything from either side. You're right. Like I said, for me, that's just a guess. Although it's somewhat of a reasonable guess because of the money.
Because one of the things I've heard that the money they're okay with is the years that's the hang up. That's what I've heard.
How many years? 4?
It was 5, right? He wants 5, right?
I think. I heard the hang up is years. I haven't heard specifics, but I heard the
hang up.
Not so much the money.
Well, but that matters though, because the years dictates the per year, which is what everybody for some reason is enamored with. I that's the other thing that I've never understood. If I'm getting $250 million guaranteed, I don't care if you do it over 7 years or 5 years, or it's a Bobby Bonilla contract.
Well, I think what it is that because say he signs 7 years, 250. In 3 years, he's going to be underpaid because the next few quarterbacks coming are going to be making more than that. So I think that's what, when it comes to the years, that's what the hold up is. Not so much the annual salary, but it is that if he signs 7 years, just throwing it out there, 7 years, 250.
Right.
The next quarterback, which probably be who? Joe Burrow. It's probably going to get 7 years, 260. And then the next guy, and then the next guy, and then by the time that 7th year comes along, that he's going to be underpaid. That's what the hang up is, more so than the annual income.
And you know what my answer to that is, Kendrick?
I ain't saying that's right.
That's how it is.
All right, let me chime in.
Yeah, chime in.
Kendrick, you say the man is underpaid at $250 million?
If a lesser quarterback is making more than him, then yeah.
Who cares? In my eyes, who cares? I am making $250 million. I am not looking at the next quarterback,
but
whoever it is. Because
you're looking at that as a fully formed adult. You got to think Lamar Jackson's 24 years old.
Jesus, he's 24.
It doesn't matter. I don't care how old you are. You got to start looking at your personal wealth in a sense, because if I'm making $250 million, the goal is I want to be the best that I can be in my profession. Because at some point, you're not going to be doing this. Like, you're not going to be playing. And so whether I'm underpaid or somebody's making more than me, I'm making $250 million doing what I enjoy doing. And I think a lot of times we get so caught up into that whole mindset of what the next man is doing or making. And yes, your value will dictate itself at some point, if that is the case. Tom Brady, a man taking pay cuts so he can have a better team, at certain points. He could have easily been the highest paid over his career. But at some point, he's like, man, I've been playing a long time, but I'm going to take a pay cut so I can have better players around me to have a better contract. And so I think it is a mindset. But if I'm making $250 million and somebody that I feel may not be better than me in a sense is making more, better to them. I can still live. I can still live
I don't even want to put this on his age because another example popped into my head. Nick Saban. Nick Saban has it in his contract that he's always going to be the highest paid coach in college football. I mean, that's just the mentality. That's just the way of the world.
And that goes back to what you were saying, Charlie, the ego side of it. For some reason, seeing your numbers on ESPN matters to these guys, all of these guys. I don't know why.
They get all mad about their Madden numbers and the NBA 2K numbers. It's
exactly.
It's stuff they think about.
Exactly. I don't know why. I agree with you, Charlie, but for some reason it matters. But to your point, Kendrick, my answer to that is similar to Charlie's. Man, that's just how it is. The market is always going to get reset every year, and there's not a thing you can. And by the way, you're supposed to outplay your contract. You're supposed to make them.
I'm not even arguing. I'm not. I mean.
Yeah, no, you're not. I know you're not. Yeah.
But I'm just saying. I mean, like I said, Nick Saban is the poster child for this whole conversation that he literally has in his contract that he's the highest paid coach in college football, no matter what somebody else is making, whatever somebody else is doing.
And to me, that's ludicrous.
But that's the way it is.
I totally get it. I totally understand it, 100%. But it's still ludicrous.
Yeah, because like I'm always like I'm not worried about what the next man is making. I just want to make what I'm supposed to make.
Yes, my value. And at some point, it has to be, your value in where you are and at the time. And that's why they ask for what they ask for, to negotiate the contract so that you are able to, make it to where you can live comfortably after football and be able to give to others the way that you're giving or football in the sport, give to others as well.
Well, go ahead.
I'm betting on himself. I don't think is a bad thing. I mean, because I keep hearing people saying, "What about what if he gets hurt? What if he gets hurt?" Well, Dak Prescott got hurt and he got paid.
The guy's money, yeah.
So it's not the end of the world for him to bet on himself. And if he gets hurt,
I think he's going to get his money. It's just a matter of what the money is for right now. But the number that everybody's focused on is the 250. To me, the number that Lamar should be focused on is the 24. Bro, if all things are equal and you stay healthy, you should get 2 of these contracts in your lifetime. And the second one's going to be better than the first one. So I know you want to break the bank right now. I get it. I think you're going to be okay. Play it out, and if you don't like what you're doing, then play it out this year, Joe Flacco style. Go force them into more money. Because that could happen as well. So I don't know.
I mean, because they said he could go to Kirk Cousins' route, let him keep franchise tagging him, and he'll make more money, and then go do it that way if he wants. But I mean, because he's probably looking at it too, like, look. This whole offense is built around me. But before he got hurt, and he came into a season last year where they had a ridiculous amount of injuries before the season started, and he was well on his way to an MVP last year.
Second MVP, right. Yeah.
Right. So that's also how he's looking. And you go to Baltimore and you can't go 2 feet without seeing a number 8 jersey.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely a fascinating situation. We will keep monitoring it. I don't know. I don't know why, but I get the feeling something's going to get done in the next 24 hours. I could be wrong, but I just can't imagine they're all going to be comfortable with him going on the field and him not having his contract done. So anyway, let us go into last week, because last week was a very fascinating week of football, to say the least. And it all started on right after we got off the broadcast on Thursday night. We watched the backyard brawl 30 with Pitt and West Virginia. And man, that was a really interesting game. Probably better than most people in the country thought that it would be. And I guess the question of all questions was, could could Pitt replace Kenny Pickett and keep the train moving, you could kind of make an argument that Kadon Slavis is better, maybe.
Let's not go that far.
He was pretty. Listen. He was
One
good.
Game, bro.
The kid was good. I'm just saying the kid was good.
One game.
The kid was good. Is what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
He was good, but let's pump the brakes on better than Kenny Pickett after one.
16-24, 308 in your first game is not a bad day's work.
It's a good start.
Not a bad day's work.
It's about consistency. We can all have one good outing. It's about being consistent, and there's a reason why he's not at USC.
They kind of ran him out of USC, didn't they? In their own way.
I'm sure Charlie had good games plenty, but he probably wasn't consistent as a punter.
As a punter, that's funny. That's funny. You know, he undersells your punting skills, Charlie. Next time you see kids, you take him to the woodshed and show him what you got.
I was serviceable. I did my job.
Right. But but nobody was calling you Reggie Roby after one game, were they?
No. They didn't call me Reggie Roby after 11 games. Like I said, I was serviceable.
Well, it was a good game. Could have gone either way. West Virginia, I just think, I don't know, just made the one critical mistake that cost them with the interception. But it was a good game. It was a really, really good game.
It seems like, so many good games have happened since then that it seems like that game was a month ago.
I know. It felt like, when I resaw the score, I was like, oh, that's right. They did play Thursday. It was a really good game. Another game on that Thursday was Wake Forest and VMI. And listen, no Sam Hartman, no problem. Mike Griffiths, the backup quarterback, stepped in and did his thing. 21-29, 288 yards, 3 touchdowns. Running back Turner, 100 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Kept the train moving, no problem. And that's kind of what they're going to have.
Well, Hartman's coming back, right? Did I see that?
Yeah.
Is he scheduled to come back? Because I haven't had a chance to look at that.
He's scheduled to get on the field now.
Well, then no harm, no foul. All is well.
Coming back this week, isn't he, Charlie?
I don't know how long he's been. I just know they said he's returned to activities.
Well, there you go.
That looks like he had a blood clot.
Oh, they finally released what it was? It was a blood clot? Oh, gosh. Wow.
It's surgery.
That's scary. That's a little scary. Wow. Now, this game didn't surprise me, although none of us picked it, because we just assumed that Virginia Tech would beat an Old Dominion and how wrong we were. But it also wasn't a very good game. It was, as far as watchable. But Grant Wells.
And the coaches get elevated at halftime.
Yeah, Grant Wells was not very good. 197 yards, 21-37, 4 interceptions in that game. You're not winning any game throwing 4 interceptions. But this one was close, but that shows you how bad Old Dominion was. It's got through 4 interceptions, and they still almost lost the game. And by the way, Old Dominion's QBR quarterback rating, 24.5. He was 14 of 35 for 165 yards, and that was enough for them to beat. That was enough for them to beat Virginia Tech.
That's barely 10 yards of completion.
That's barely 10 yards of completion. It was not a great performance by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's fair to say when your running back rushes for 111 yards and you still lose, it's fair to say that something went horribly wrong. So
it's just so weird to see Virginia Tech struggling so much.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know what they're doing from a recruiting perspective wrong, or even from a preparation perspective what they're doing wrong. But they're doing something wrong. Like,
because they've got a good base.
Yeah.
Base, and they've got a great fan base.
Great fan base, great history, great support, it seems.
Well, you have to factor in, again, this is the first year for New Hope, for new coaching staff. Grant Wells wasn't their quarterback last year.
Right.
So he's in a new system. And so you're going to have some of these games where they may not look the part, and they didn't look the part. But defensively, it sounded like they had a solid game. I mean, they gave up 20 points, and probably some of that was field position. If a man threw 40.
Oh, yeah.
I know that feeling. But it's, something that they're going to have to work through and continue to progress, because if you're not getting it done offensively, defensively may have to step up and get some turnovers, or special teams. Like I've seen games get turned when a team is struggling. A special team steps up in some form of fashion to give them opportunities to get them jump started. Right. So, you just have to find other ways. And I don't know what it looked like. I think who scored a touchdown late? Was it Old Dominion?
I think it was Old Dominion,
yeah. So that's another example where, the defense, if you're trying to win a game, you got to work to try to get a stop.
Yeah.
And so you give yourself a chance to win the game, but in the end, somebody got to step up and make a play. And the defense didn't do that, even though they may have played well the whole game, but they gave up, a late touchdown to seal it. So, yes, Virginia Tech, it is what it is, a new system, first game. So I know they'll get back to the drawing board a little bit and try to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, one team that at least figured it out for one game was the Duke Blue Devils. And I know Duke is bad, okay? I know they're bad. But they're not Temple bad. They beat Temple 30-0, held their passing game to 83 yards, held the Temple rushing team to 65 yards. That's a pretty good day's work right there.
That's a good start. That's a
good start. Riley Leonard, 328 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Pretty good, pretty solid performance by Duke.
Yeah, Temple's not exactly Clemson or anything like that, but right. For Duke, that's a great start to the season. It's something you can hang your hat on, something to give you some confidence going forward.
Duke did what they're supposed to do. They dominate. Right.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And they did what they're supposed to do, because that's what you do when you, on paper, are the better team. And I'm looking at you right now, Louisville. Louisville did not do what they were supposed to do. If they're on paper, you're the better team. And I don't know what is going on, but Satterfield, if he wants to stop the noise, you've got to stop the noise. You got to do something. Now, you can't play the game. I get it. You're the coach, and that's all you can do is try to prepare them. But if I'm being completely honest, I don't feel like that team was prepared. And the only reason I say that is because any game plan where a guy has rushed for 30 touchdowns and you can't find a way to put him in a situation where he's moving the ball himself, and that's really your best weapon, to me, that's a flawed game plan. They took the L to Dino, our guy Dino, 31-7. And we wanted to know, could Tucker, the running back Tucker, get the help that he needed? Well, in one game, the quarterback Schrader gave him 236 yards and 2 touchdowns, so maybe so. But what do you guys' thoughts on Louisville and Syracuse?
Well, a lot of the same problems that plagued U of L last year were right back again this year. They can't tackle. They're out of position a lot on defense. Schrader had a 3rd and 24 run for a first down. That's ridiculous. You can't. That can't happen. And because the U of L had a stretch where they had 3 straight possessions that ended with turnovers. 2 of them, 2 Malik interceptions and a Malik fumble.
Bad interceptions too.
Well, the first interception was just a great play by the defensive back.
Yeah.
I mean, that was an outstanding play. Then the second one, it's third and 20, third and 24, whatever it was. He just tried to make a play. I can let that one slide. Then the fumble was, you gotta hold on to the ball when you're getting sacked. But like a lot of the post game was Satterfield was saying, well, we only had the ball 4 times in the first half. Well, whose fault is that?
Right. That's not an excuse.
No. And and one of the things he's guilty of, he's not the only coach that's guilty of it too. It's like they always say, well, we didn't execute, which is code for it's the player's fault. Well, that's what I hear when I hear that. And I'm like, well, if they're out of position, that's not always execution. And when those mistakes that they were making are the same mistakes that was being made last year, maybe they're not being coached out of those mistakes. And so I'm a Satterfield fan. I'm a fan of that coaching staff because they're a breath of fresh air when you go over there. But that was an awful start. You could not have asked for a worse start when a team that you've blown out 3 straight years. Of course, they were all here, but you've just absolutely annihilated Syracuse to go there and never was in the game. They were down 10-0 before they even scored, and they only scored 1 touchdown. You can't have a start to the season like that.
Well, I know you guys are talking about Louisville, but Syracuse, they're very good.
They're better than what I think people thought they were. That's for sure.
I mean, I know that the passing game's a little suspect, but the run game between the quarterback and the running back, they're very good. I mean, keeping you off balance, and Schrader hit enough passes to where, he kept the passing game in check. But I think defensively they did a great job of pressuring the quarterback, tackling in space, and getting the necessary interceptions. Yes, some of those were unforced in a sense, but we also got to just give Syracuse their flowers in a sense.
I'll give them credit, but reason why I hold back my credit to Syracuse is this is a team that had 18 penalties for 101 yards.
Wow, that's a lot.
They didn't play all that great either.
Right. But I'm gonna say this too. I know Satterfield is tired of hearing the noise. I know they just had maybe arguably the best recruiting season in the history of University of Louisville, and I know he wanted that to be the reason why some of the noise would die down. That's great. That's outstanding. But what dies the noise down is winning. winning kills the noise. And proving that you can put a product on the field that matches what you're doing on the recruiting trail kills the noise. And he has not yet proven that he can do that. I hate to say it, man, but it's starting to feel as though he has moments of I belong here, but ultimately, man, this might be too much for him. It may just be the moment might be too much for him. We'll see.
I cheer for him. I root him. I like him as a man. I want to see him do well.
Great dude.
That was just an awful start to the season. And like I said, I don't want to discredit Syracuse, but I'm holding off on my credit for them because 18 penalties for 101 yards.
And by the way, another tough game.
And they lose 31-7 to a team that had 100 yards in penalties.
And by the way, another tough game this week. We'll get to that in a minute, but tough in the sense of you got to go on the road and try to figure it out.
Team that's only lost 2 or 3 games at home in the last 3 or 4 years.
Exactly. This is not a recipe for success, but we'll see if they can pull it together. We'll run through a couple of more here real quick. An outstanding game to watch. A really horrible ending in the NC State East Carolina game. East Carolina could not have done more to win that game if they tried. And I don't know, man, that thing, because they got everything they needed to in trying to stop Devin Leary. They kept him, he was 17 of 33, only 211 yards. They kind of slowed down the running game to some degree. He held the collective running game to 133 yards. They did everything they were supposed to do except kick the final field goal and win the game. So I don't know. I don't know what else they could have done. But it did not work out for them, to say the least.
I would ask Charlie, as a leader like you were, what do you say to your kicker in that situation? I mean, because they have a different temperament. They have a different mentality than, the rest of your teammates. So what do you say to him after that?
Or I'd say nothing. I mean, outside of we all been there. Like, it's not like the kicker is the only one that has not come through in the end whenever you need him. And so it's not like he's a loner, because we focus on that part of it. But if I go back throughout the game, there are probably opportunities that I missed as a quarterback to be able to help us increase the lead or give us a lead. But we all look at this one play and put it all on the kicker because he didn't come through for us in the end. And I see there are opportunities that I may have been able to help, get us out of this position, even though, yes, somebody have helped us get to this position. And I go back to, my junior year. We played Miami. It was 19-16. We drove the ball down. It was like a minute or some change to where we got a manageable field goal, and the kicker missed the field goal right. Now, throughout the game, we lived in the red zone. Ended up kicking field goals most of the time. We didn't score any. I think we scored in that, touchdowns. And so I think that's something that you have to look at yourself. Yes, the kicker missed the kick, but you had a lot to do with you not winning that game as well.
Yeah, I listen, East Carolina, to me, they don't have anything to hang their head down with. You can beat up on that guy if you want to, but if I'm the coach of East Carolina, I say to them, guys, we just got to finish it. That's it. That's the only thing left to do. We're there. You took the number 13 team in the nation to the brink. I'm as a coach, I'm saying we just got to finish it. But other than that, we're good. I think we're on the right track.
Yeah, and they played really well eventually.
Huh?
They got after the quarterback. They were physical. They were flying around. I'm talking about East Carolina. So I think they played a well of a game. They wish the outcome was different.
Right.
And they probably feel like when they watched the film, they left some points on the board. On the field as well. North Carolina State is in the same boat. They probably felt like they left some points on the field and opportunities out there. So, in a competitive, close game, as we've seen, mistakes play a big part.
Yeah.
And sometimes they can cost you.
Speaking of that, is there any panic time in North Carolina right now with North Carolina State? Devin Leary did not have a great game against a defense that, while very good, East Carolina's defense was very good, not going to be the toughest defense he sees this season. Are we panicking right now a little bit in North Carolina State, or is it just like, okay, unfamiliar team caught us off guard a little bit of a rivalry, not a huge rivalry.
I'm not at the panic state right now. I've got questions, but I'm not panicking because that's a rivalry game against a team. They've been looking at chops because they don't get as much. They probably been wanting to play NC State.
Chip on the shoulder kind of thing, yeah.
It's one of those type of things, and so I'll still give them that benefit. I do have questions. I'm not panicking, but I do have questions.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was I was shocked by the way they weren't able to move the football.
I was too, very much.
Standpoint, and then even defensively, they weren't what I expected. Meaning, shut down type of defense.
Right.
East Carolina actually moved the football consistently at points of the game where you felt like you were expecting NC State to kind of bow their necks, show their force, play the way that we all expected their defense to be able to play, which was dominant.
Mm-hmm.
Then they didn't do it. And so that was concerning to me that Larry didn't have the consistency when it came down to being able to move the football. They had a few 3 and outs, which or couldn't get third downs, whatever the case may be. It just didn't seem like what we were expecting.
Yeah, I thought by far, I thought East Carolina was the best team on that field, and I like I said, I'm not panicking. Still, no panic yet. But if I'm the head coach of North Carolina State, I realize we're not as far along as I thought we were, and we for sure this week we had a lot of stuff to clean up. Not necessarily the same case for Miami, who did exactly what you're supposed to do when you're playing an inferior opponent. Take them to the woodshed. Although I will say this, they gave up 243 yards passing.
Yeah,
that's a little concerning. That is a little concerning. 243 yards is a lot.
Well, I'll give them the benefit that they were up. They were up by a lot. So Bethune-Cookman's going to throw a lot.
Maybe that's what it was. But 70-13, Van Dyke, solid game. Not a lot, maybe not a ton of takeaways. Now I'll tell you, this one shocked me. Rutgers beating Boston College shocked me. Because Jurkovec has been there for quite some time. And I would think at this point he should be better. And he didn't have a horrible day. I mean, he was 283 yards, 3 touchdowns. The thing that's concerning is that it took him 41 passes or 41 attempts to get those 283 yards. He only made 23 of those. He had 2 interceptions. And then the other part that concerns me about that is the quarterback for Rutgers only had 63 yards passing. 63. And they lost 22-21. So Boston College may be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
to say the least.
It sounds like that. I was surprised by that outcome too, but it sounds like Boston College is gonna be a tough year.
I watched them. I was hoping they would win the game just because of ACC, but Jurkovec is his name.
Yeah,
he didn't impress me with his arm or being accurate. But of course, his offensive line was struggling as well.
Right.
Which probably plays a little bit into that. I'm not going to panic, but
no panic. But
it was not their best performance, I would say, and it cost them in the end. Defensively, they played well enough to win the game. I mean, giving up 22 points.
Right.
It's not the end of the world, but they just didn't seem like they had a consistent flow on offense. And the run game wasn't there, what you would expect.
And that's an understatement. Their leading rusher had 25 yards on 14 carries.
It was just that it just didn't seem like they were in a flow offensively. You were expecting, I was expecting Zay Flowers to have a good game, find a way to get him the ball.
He did.
That didn't seem to happen consistently.
Yeah.
And I don't know who the second option is on that team, but I'm sure they'll get it figured out in some form or fashion, but I do believe their offensive line is going to be, until they can figure that part out, their offense is going to be
stagnant.
Yeah.
I'll say this: Zay Flowers to me is playing himself solidly into the first round. Because if listen, as bad as that offense was, that dude put up 117 yards receiving on 10 receptions, and he still had 2 touchdowns. He was pretty much all they had, and so he's doing his thing. You can't. One thing you can't blame is Zay Flowers. Now, I'll say this about this next game. Stunning game. Offensively, if you like offense, this was the game to watch of the week. North Carolina, Appalachian State. But it was not. But if you like football from both sides of the field, it was a terrible game to watch defensively because neither one of these teams could stop each other. Over 723 yards total passing in this game, which is insane to think about. Probably 1,000 yards total from both sides in totality. Just to give you some perspective, the Appalachian State quarterback Bryce threw for 361 yards and 6 touchdowns and lost the game.
By 2.
And lost the game by 2. Shout out to, though, I got to give North Carolina's special teams all the credit. Shout out to maybe the greatest onside kick special teams play in college sports I've ever seen. Because I've never seen 4 guys simultaneously knock down 4 guys.
A bomb went off.
That was insane, and I had to watch it several times just to believe what my eyes were seeing. Like, did they just really knock them all down at the same time? That's crazy.
So
I have a bowling pin. Yeah, it looked like bowling.
So I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Why is that not targeting or a blind side?
That's a great question. That is a great question because that's a great question. I got no answer.
Because they're blocking. If you call it targeting on that, you call targeting on every block when it's something with a
no.
Same thing.
So if a guy doesn't see me because I'm looking at the football and I go and block him during the course of a play, regardless of, let's say it's offense, and that guy gets hit the way they got hit, that's a blindside block.
But they
defenseless player.
I don't think in that position it can be because they are running towards the ball. And so if they run towards the ball, like it wasn't like the Carolina guys were pulling. They were already there. Just ran into 4 brick walls.
I was going to say
little kids game.
I was going to say the problem with it being targeting is that they're supposed to be looking. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like in some aspects, I get it. If you don't see it and somebody hits you.
I think it's ridiculous to call penalty on a blindside block anyway. I think that's goofy. It's football. I don't that call anyway.
Nah, that's a safety issue. I'm glad they cleaned that part up because it was getting to a point where guys are getting taken out. We're talking about concussion and we're talking about certain types of, deals. So I'm glad they took that part out. I can understand a guy getting, when it's right in front of each other. But if I'm looking in at the ball and the ball is coming and someone comes and hit me, that should be a blindside block, in my opinion.
And see, with that particular play, I see it a little bit differently because they should have been paying attention. If it's a receiver, I get that, or something like, or a crackback kind of thing, I get that.
Hold on. You said they should be paying attention?
They should be paying attention. It's an onside kick. You know they're coming.
Well, if that's the case, then everybody should know that they're coming. Because if I'm going to get the football, if I'm a safety and our wide receiver comes from an angle that hit me, I should know he should be coming. But I don't.
But I see that a little differently because in an onside kick, you're lining up across from that guy. So there's no doubt that this guy is coming towards you. He's coming towards you. So there's no surprise there. There's no element of uncertainty. He's coming. That's the whole play. So in a receiving situation, you don't know where it's coming from. So that's just my opinion on that. I think that's the only reason I don't think you get called for targeting in that situation, because you should know, because that's the whole play. It started with you looking across, seeing this guy, and somebody
towards the people that hit him.
Right, right. You know they're running towards you. So you either prepare yourself or you don't. But I get what you're saying. I just think I don't see that as the same as targeting. But I do want to say this before we go on. I'm gonna do something I have not had the pleasure of doing in an entire 2 years. Shout out to the North Carolina quarterback who did not have his star guy and played well.
I'm not here for this. I am.
No, he played well.
This is malarkey.
It's no malarkey. It's no malarkey. He played well.
This is tomfoolery at its finest.
Are you listen? He played much better than his predecessor.
This is the height of nonsense.
352 yards, 4 touchdowns. He played well.
I can't wait till the Commanders play the Giants.
You know what? We'll just move on. How about that? Virginia did what Virginia was supposed to do. Beat Richmond.
Wow.
The only concern I would have about that game is that the only concern I would have about that game is that Brennan Armstrong basically did everything. 246 yards passing, 105 yards rushing. He pretty much was, other than Jones, the backup or the starting running back, he was the offense.
I don't have a problem with that. That's what he's supposed to do.
Well, I get some help from somebody, don't you? Like,
if he had 240 yards passing,
but I guess I can't be hypocritical because I asked Malik to do the same thing. So
right, I mean that's what Lamar did.
Exactly. The game of the weekend to me, by far, Florida State and LSU, a fantastic game. Go Seminoles. Although that ending was quite something. That ending was quite something. I still don't know what to make of it.
I don't either.
A lot of highs and lows.
Bill from Stephen A. Smith this morning.
Say it again.
Stephen A. looks like there's a filter on him this morning.
Okay. I was like, what just happened? Okay. First of all, let me say this. I'll start by saying this. I think Jordan is a lot better. It wasn't a perfect game. Huh?
Who does perfect?
Right. I was going to say it wasn't a perfect game, but he's better. He's much better.
He's good.
So,
he's good.
Yeah, he's solid all the way across the board. And so I think I'm going to say something that Charlie is not going to like. I'm just going to say it, but you're not going to like it, Charlie. To me, across the board, the best performance of the weekend was Florida State. Other than their special teams. Well, no, I'm sorry. I take that back. The special teams was fantastic. I was going to say the special teams was fantastic. So I thought Florida State played great the entire weekend.
Yeah, I'll say they played well. Of course, they would have to play better in certain parts of the game. But I think they displayed the will to win, and
which is huge.
Yes,
Yes.
And the physicality, I think, is what a lot of people were surprised by, because, you know, we all expect the SEC to be physical and what have you. But for us to go out and kind of do what we did to hold our own in a sense, you know, I think a lot of people were surprised by that part of it. Not saying that we hadn't been physical, it couldn't be, but we were able to, you know, play with great physicality. And we took advantage of their mistakes, meaning sometimes it is not about, like we did leave points on the field.
For sure.
You know, at least 10 that we know of. But, you know, those extra possessions help kill clock so as well. And so that was very helpful, even though we gave up a 99-yard drive in a minute and change to the team that struggled to throw the ball the whole night.
See now the real Charlie.
That was the nicest shade I've ever heard someone give. That was awesome, Charlie. I appreciate it. Do you agree? Let's talk about the elephant in the room, because our group chat was lit up on the other day. Do you agree, Charlie, with the timeout at the end of the game?
Why? I mean, what's the issue? I agree. I don't understand what was the big issue. Why are people upset about calling a timeout?
Because the clock, and you know, I did get a different explanation last night. I'm not 100% it was accurate, but it would have made sense. It made the timeout made sense. But from the way I had understood it, by that runner's knee coming down in bounds, the clock would have started as soon as they hiked the ball.
Correct.
So why would you call timeout when they have to hurry up and hike the ball?
Because it's going to be an untimed down anyway. Right. So they're going to get the play off regardless. If it was going to be an untimed down, so they were going to have one play left. That was just because he got a first down, and then they had the challenge or whatever it was. They had to go to replay, and so they were going to get one play. But that was it. So calling a timeout to get your defense set, aligned, even though they end up scoring anyway, but still get your defense set aligned, because they just gave up a 99-yard drive. To try to get on the same page with what you want to do, because they did show up. I mean, they did give them a formation, and then they called a timeout to make sure that they had whatever it is they wanted to do. I didn't see that as a big issue, because it was going to be one play regardless.
If it's going to be one play regardless, then yeah, I agree. But I was just under, because I mean, to me, it's a goofy rule, because just because they reviewed it doesn't mean they're supposed to just basically they gave them a timeout just because they reviewed it. Because if the referee didn't blow the call, to be honest with you, and noticed that his knee came down, they would have had to line up and go. They may not even gotten the play off, to be perfectly honest. And if they did, they'd have been scrambling. So basically, gave them a timeout, and let them prepare. So in that case, I get it. I can get calling timeout, even though obviously it didn't work anyway. They scored anyway, but I don't understand why the clock stopped basically giving them a timeout that they did not have, just because the referee got the call wrong in the first place. Because
they didn't call it. They called him out of bounds.
Right. But once they reviewed it and saw that he wasn't out of bounds, then it should go back to what the rule is, that you got to line up and go. You don't get a timeout. It should. I don't understand why it's an untimed down.
Yeah, I mean, it turns into an untimed down because you have a first down, and then you have a replay.
The clock stops for them to get up.
The clock stops, so it will give them an opportunity to have one play. So once they put it back in play, it's going to you know, they were going to have it that one play, regardless of, you know.
But it would have been interesting to see the mentality and the preparation of that moment had he recognized that his knee was down, and now you have to get the lineman to the line, get everybody there, move the chains.
Totally different.
Yeah.
That'd have been totally different. Now, if you
Right.
had to call a timeout at that point, then yes. I mean, I can understand criticism. But when they when he got the explanation that there was going to be one untimed down, then you got to take your time out to try to get your team, your defense aligned.
Settle them down and try to get them prepared,
to stop them.
Well, let me say this. I want to give all the credit in the world, though, to Florida State special teams, because that was outstanding. Like, talk about not quitting and playing the full game. That was incredible.
Yeah, because that could have been easily that they'll make the extra point and go on. But no, they went in there, like Charlie said, they had a will to win. They went in there and blocked that kick.
That was amazing, yeah.
Minus the kickoffs going out of bounds.
You win some, you lose some, Charlie, but you got the ones you needed, all right?
Yeah, we did, but we can't be kicking up twice. We kicked the ball out of bounds.
That's very true.
One part of
great field position.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
But yes, teams did do well.
Final game of the week.
One more thing about that, just real quick.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Charlie pointed out the special teams work before that game. So we gotta give credit.
You did. That is very true. That is very true.
I also want to ask about my man Butte. I know he's the SEC, but he was non-existent and he looked non-existent, like he wanted to be there. 7. And
I think that's a multitude of things. Some Florida State and some LSU.
One time he wasn't even looking for the ball.
Yeah.
Ball hit him in the arm. The man kept running. Man kept running like he was going to catch the post over the top. And then he dropped more passes than he caught.
Yeah, I think sometimes people think grass is greener on the other side, and they don't have any idea how it got that way. They think, well, I'll just go over there and enjoy this green grass. No, you got to go over there and put the work in the same way that you would have had to put the work in somewhere else. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. Nothing is handed to you in this life. You got to work for it. And I don't know, man. I think that's what we saw. He's just a kid he's a kid. Let's keep that in perspective. He's a kid and he's doing what kids do. They think a new situation is a better one, but not always. So I don't know. I'm not gonna overreact on one game, but welcome to the SEC, sir.
One game? But one game you were saying the Pitts quarterback is better than Kenny Pickett.
He is better than Kenny Pickett. That's called hyperbole, Kendrick. Speaking of better than one game,
quarterback was better than Howell.
Hey, speaking of better in one game, why is everybody talking about the 4 for 6 that Klubnik did in Clemson, which was 49 yards and a touchdown, over the 19 of 32 for 210 yards and 1 touchdown of one DJ Uiagalelei? By the way, it is hilarious to me to listen to the announcers butcher that man's name for 60 minutes. It is fantastically hilarious to me.
At one point, I think they just said Ugalele at one point.
They just gave up. They at some point they just give up and say, we don't know what it is. We don't care anymore. His parents chose this. We're just going to go.
Get back to the original statement, though, where you said everybody in this group chat is this way. You.
I merely said
that's you.
I merely
both saying, okay, he played great at the end of the game. He came in there for cleanup. He's not going to be starting. But the other person on this group chat on last night's show on the 5 was saying
I did
that this backup is going to be starting when they play Wake Forest in 4.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. That is not what I said. What I said was he is being. I'm saying he is being. I think he's being groomed, and I'm gonna tell you the telltale moment that told me that. I'm watching DJ come off the field after his mistakes or whatever he's doing, this, that, and the other, and I'm listening to Dabo, and he's saying, well, he's playing well, and da da da. And then I see this kid go in and have one drive, and Dabo looks like he just won a national championship. And I'm saying, body language says a lot sometimes, and I'm just saying, keep your eyes on this moment. Keep your eyes on this moment. I think DJ is on a much shorter leash than people want to admit.
The strength of the transfer portal, and he's got a quarterback who's a 5-star quarterback who could just up and leave because he's not playing this year. So if he does anything, he's going to react more than he normally would, just so he doesn't go into the transfer portal.
I don't disagree with that either. I'm just saying it's an interesting situation. And by the way, I am not the only one that is saying that. I've seen in other areas of reporting.
Said that the guy's going to be starting when they play Wake Forest.
Charlie Ward did say that. We'll see. And my statement to that is we'll see.
Yeah. I understand everyone's excitement about this Klubnik kid. And they're trying to compare this situation with Trevor Lawrence and the Bryant guy when he was there. Now, to be fair, DJ didn't have much help.
That is true.
He had a lot of drops.
Mm-hmm.
Nicely thrown balls. Some of them were contested, but he threw nice balls, and they didn't catch them. Some of them. And so, I mean, we look at this situation and we're like, well, he only had 210 yards, but there are a few drops. I guarantee you last year, this is what you guys got to start looking at. Last year, the touchdown that he threw to the guy in the back of the end zone early in the game, like,
not be able to throw that.
That didn't happen.
That's very true.
So,
very true.
And so when I start looking at and hearing what people want as opposed to what's actually happening, is totally a disregard for DJ and his improvement from last year to this year, even though it's game 1, but he didn't throw that many good passes last year. I mean, he was bad, but on Monday, he threw a lot of dimes that sometimes they were caught and sometimes they weren't. And so I just think they need their wide receivers to step up and make some of those tough contested plays to be able to help him out. And to me, he gives them the best chance to win because he can throw it and he can run it, and he has great experiences as well. Because what they need to do is what they're going to do, which means they're going to play Klubnik. They're going to give him some time here these next few games because they have games they can put him in and put him in certain situations to give him those experiences to get him prepared and ready for if he does have to come in. But I don't see them replacing DJ because he provides more than just what the outside world sees.
I think it will be interesting to see if DJ can continue to block out the noise and get better, because that's going to be critical to, I think, all of this. He's got to not get caught in the hype either. The kid can play, but as long as you keep doing what you're doing, you should be fine. But if you allow yourself to get caught in it, like a lot of young people do, this could end bad. But we'll see. Listen, these next 2 games, he shouldn't have to worry about any of that. Those should be fine. Which brings us to go ahead.
But you said the next few games they should be fine. You shouldn't have to worry about it. But you were saying that he's going to be replaced by week 4.
I'm telling you, the noise is going to get louder. Listen. We can laugh and joke it off, but y'all know, listen, kids, you've been covering sports a long time. You know how this works. The noise is they're going to blow out the next two opponents, probably, right? Probably.
And your guy's probably going to look good doing
right. It. Well, he's not my guy. I don't have a dog in this fight.
Probably he'll look good in the fourth quarters of those games.
But that's how this happens. Y'all know that. Why are we acting like this is not the reality of sports in America right now? This guy's going to come in. He's going to do exactly what he did. He's going to look great, and they're going to keep comparing those numbers as if they are comparable. The truth is, they're not really comparable. They're not really comparable. One guy being blown out and coming in playing great, and the other guy doing it under fire is not the same thing.
I agree with you that the noise is going to be there, but I do not agree with you that Dabo Swinney is going to listen to that noise.
We will see. We will see. We will absolutely see. So ultimately, we all did reasonably well. Charlie got the 8-4 record because he bet on he bet against Louisville, which was a smart play on his part. And so we all had good first weeks. And as we head to the this week's game. Huh?
Did we all pick Florida State?
No. Which is why you're 7-5. Because for some reason you didn't believe in the Seminoles like Charlie and I believe in the Seminoles.
Yeah, you believe.
I believe.
Thanks for letting us sleep.
Well, that's over with now, Charlie. That's over. That's all over with.
Picking against
all right, real quick. Let's run through these games for week 2 real quick. We got Louisville at UCF, and that's tomorrow. Is that tomorrow's game? Yeah, that's tomorrow's game. So, what are we doing, gentlemen?
UCF.
Did UCF win last week?
Yes.
Are you going UCF? You said, now you realize by what you just said, if Louisville loses this one, it's full on panic in Jefferson County.
It was full on panic here after the first quarter.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that either. But it's a fever pitch.
So you think Louisville is going to lose to UCF like after a loss in Syracuse?
There's nothing in that Syracuse game to give me faith that they can go on the road and win in Orlando against a good UCF team. Who doesn't lose at home. And they picked 6 at the end of the game last year to beat them last year here.
And this is a statement year for UCF. That's the only problem I see in this game. Or this is a statement year. Every time they can get a quality Power 5 win, that validates their move. And I this is a bad next game for Louisville. I want to believe in Louisville and in Satterfield, but I think I'm gonna have to ride with you, Kendrick. I hate to say it, but I think I'm gonna have to ride with you. I'm gonna hope for the best, but expect the worst.
Yeah, I go with UCF as well. Coach Malzahn, he's developing that group, and they do play well at home. I'm just curious to see how Malik Cunningham responds if he goes off this game.
If they turn him loose, he could do well. But I don't know if they're going to do that.
Yeah, they got to have him do more than turn and hand the ball off every play too.
Yeah.
They took the ball out of his hands in the second half of that Syracuse game,
which made no sense, by the way, no sense whatsoever. Okay, Southern Miss, Miami.
BU.
Miami.
Are they back?
I'm not gonna say that
again.
What does that mean?
I don't know. That's what people say, Charlie. Miami's back. The U is back. Okay. I don't know what that means.
Miami is back every season.
Every year. Everybody's back. It's college football season. I don't understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, they're competitive.
Yeah, they are they're gonna be very competitive.
Wake me up when they play somebody that's good.
Exactly. Wake Forest and Vanderbilt, they'll have their Looks like they're going to have their quarterback back, but I'm not sure it would matter either way. It's Vanderbilt. That should be.
I'm going with Vanderbilt.
Wow.
Vanderbilt's 2-0, and they're playing quality football. I may be wrong, but I just,
why they played last week?
I don't know. They beat the team they played.
And you believe they've made a believer out of you.
I just want to see Vanderbilt be good, I guess.
Wow. So this is a heart pick. This is a heart pick, is what he's saying. Well, this is a heart pick.
I'm going with the Deeks.
I'm going with the Deeks as well. What about Duke and Northwestern? let me go first on this one. There is a song when I saw this on the schedule that comes to mind. It's a late 80s song called Back to Life, Back to Reality. And I think Northwestern is going to beat the brakes off of Duke in the battle of the Brainiacs.
When you said songs, I thought you were going to say Blinded Me with Science.
Yes. So you think Northwestern is better than Duke?
I do.
I think Northwestern's going to beat them. I don't think they're going to beat the brakes off of them. I think
the entire brakes.
I'm just
not that explosive.
You don't think Northwestern is explosive?
No.
Okay. They beat Nebraska.
What was the score?
It was a close game. I mean, it was definitely a close game, but
they were down 11 points in the fourth quarter.
And they won.
They exploded in the fourth quarter.
I'm just saying.
Nebraska exploded.
There's a big difference between Temple and Northwestern.
I'm picking Northwestern, but I don't think they're going to beat the brakes off of them. I'm just picking Northwestern because they're at home.
Yeah, I'll go with that route. I'll pick Northwestern because they're playing at home.
I'm just curious. You guys got me curious now. The line is 10.
Well, they're at home.
I'm just saying. The brakes.
You get 3 points for being at home, and they gave them another touchdown.
Okay. All right. Remember this. I'm glad this show is recorded. Okay. North Carolina and Georgia State. Let me just say this. North Carolina has some problems. They have some real problems. And eventually those problems are going to catch up with them. They're not going to keep escaping.
It won't be this week.
I don't think it'll be this week. I think they'll win this week. But they got some real defensive problems.
So this question, I mean, they're offensively they're okay. Like they'll win games, and their defense can get stops against Georgia State whenever they need to, or App State whenever they need to in some form. They didn't do very much of stopping. But do you think that if they have another bad defensive performance, that they would find a new defensive coordinator?
I think Matt could step in and say, "Hey man, we got to do something," because they can't keep letting people hang big numbers on them. Like honestly, Florida A&M would have, and here's what makes it so telling: the same Florida A&M team that gave them fits could not move the ball at all against Jackson State. So that's a pretty significant telling sign right there to me. Like,
yeah.
So they got problems, and I think Matt could step in and say, okay, I gotta do something, because something is getting lost in translation for some reason on the defensive side of the ball with them, and because when I saw that Jackson State game, I was like, how is that the same team? Like Florida A&M couldn't. They were horrible against Jackson State, and so I don't know, something is wrong, but we'll see. If Georgia State hangs a number on them as well, then I gotta believe Charlie Mack's gonna step in and say I got it going forward.
Hey, did you see this? Dabo Swinney and Clemson agreed a new 10-year, $115 million contract.
Just saw that on our guy Chad Major just put that in the chat. That's good work if you can get it.
Did he just sign a 10-year deal?
Huh?
He just signed. Didn't he just sign a 10-year deal like worth $90 million?
Well,
115.
well, his nemesis just signed a big deal too. So I guess this is one of those anything you can do, I can do better type situations.
Okay.
Are we all going to North Carolina? I'm assuming we're all going to North Carolina here. We're not.
Yeah.
Yes.
Though we all have questions like what's really going on
But
with
the
North
question
Carolina.
is the defense.
Yeah, the defense. Not offensively, right? Not offensively, but there are lots of questions on that defensive side of the ball. Okay. Charleston Southern and NC State. I'm gonna assume that NC State wins because they're supposed to. So but I am gonna have my eye on this game because they are the opposite of North Carolina. I'm curious to see what their offense is all about.
Well, you're not gonna find out in this game. They'll be fine.
Well, maybe. Like if they can't hang a number on Charleston Southern, that could be very telling.
They'll be much better.
They should. They should. I don't think there's any mystery here. Clemson and Furman.
No.
Well, according to you, there might be a quarterback controversy after.
There will be a quarterback controversy. I'm just. Y'all better. One of the biggest games of the weekend. Tennessee and Pitt at Pitt.
This is a tough one.
I'm gonna go with Tennessee.
Oh, Charlie. Okay.
Pitt is. I'm still trying to figure out. I'm not a big believer. They should have lost that game to West Virginia. Just
agreed.
But Pitt's quarterback is the best quarterback they've had since Burrito, according to Lloyd.
That's not what I. Why are my words being twisted today? I'm really saying. Listen, the kid played great. Give him credit, Kendrick. He played great.
I think Hendon Hooker is a problem.
Yes.
And I don't know about their defense. I keep hearing about their defense may not be what it should be, but I don't know. I'm still not a big Keaton Slovis fan just yet.
Well, the president of his fan club is in the chat, but
you played great. I'm all in on Pitt. If you can be all in on Virginia, I can be all in on Pitt.
But Virginia's quarterback has been there. He's played more than one game for Virginia.
How many games you had to play to be great? All right. We were crowning. They were crowning Bryce Young with the high. Hey, they were crowning Bryce Young with the Heisman last year after the first game, and he didn't disappoint. So that's all I'm saying. I'm going Pitt.
Too.
Huh?
He plays for Alabama.
Well,
that's not like a hard deal.
Don't get bogged in the details, Charlie. Don't let the details get in the way of a good story. Who you going with, Kendrick? You going with Tennessee or Pitt?
I've been waffling back and forth. I think I'm gonna stick with Pitt just because Pitt beat them so bad in Knoxville last year. So I think I'm gonna go with Pitt.
And this was at home. There you go. Okay. This is another tough one. Virginia and Illinois. I don't know much about Illinois, but Virginia historically on the road has not been great.
Illinois lost to Indiana last week. My Wahoos go 2-0.
Ooh, you're all in, and I'm not clowning you about your all-inness. Although I'm going to Illinois.
Again, I have proof more than one game.
Okay. Charlie, which way you going on this one?
I didn't watch very much Virginia, so I'm not sure what their defense looks like. What their defense looks like.
I didn't see any of that.
I don't know if you can say this because that wasn't a good game to gauge it. I mean, they did what they're supposed to do. I don't know. I'm not sure we learned anything about their defense this past week.
Yeah.
No, we don't know.
I'm gonna go with Virginia.
I watched some of Illinois' game last week because they played Indiana, and I'm picking Virginia.
All right.
I don't think Illinois' defense can stop Virginia's offense.
All right, there you go. Syracuse and UConn. Now that I've seen Syracuse, and I guess even if I hadn't seen Syracuse, I'd probably pick over UConn. But now that I've seen them, I got to believe they're going to really put up a number on UConn.
They'll take care of business.
Yeah. What about West Carolina and Georgia Tech?
I'm going with Georgia Tech. I thought they played a very good football game on Monday night.
That game wasn't a blowout. It wasn't the blowout that the final score showed. You know what I mean?
Right.
I know it's weird to say that about a 31-point win for somebody, but you're right. Georgia Tech made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they had as many drop balls as
penalties too. Drop balls and drive killing.
And yeah, if they clean a lot of that up, they could be interesting. So I'm gonna go Georgia Tech on that one as well. Boston College, you have revealed yourself, but I don't know. Huh?
They're playing Virginia Tech.
Well, that's where I was headed. I was gonna say you have revealed yourself. However, against Virginia Tech, it still might be enough. So
what's up, game?
I don't know.
This will be these games right here are the ones who decide who wins our
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Jesus.
Who gets lucky and picks the biggest loser.
I'm going with Boston College.
You're going with Boston College
because they have a veteran quarterback, receiver. I'm not sure what Virginia Tech. I mean, I don't know. They're playing at home.
I think I'm going Boston College merely because they have the best. They're going to have the best player on the field, and I gotta believe he's going to be the difference, huh?
We thought that last week too, though.
I know. Listen, I make this pick with zero confidence.
I'm doing the same thing, except I'm going out on a limb. I'm gonna pick Virginia Tech.
Okay.
They're at home. What's the line? You know?
Yeah, that'll be the one that's the most interesting because it'll be the futility bowl, and we'll see what happens. Okay, there are our picks, ladies and gentlemen, for the week. Real quick, we're gonna give our shout outs. We gave a shout out to Serena, didn't we? We gave a shout out last time, right, Serena?
Yes.
Okay, so now we give a shout out to Tiafo. Shout out to Tiafo, the first American man to make it to the semifinals and have a legitimate chance to win the thing. His path seems somewhat clearer. All the top guys are gone, so we'll see.
African American man since Arthur Ashe.
We could be staring in the face of a massive moment here over the weekend. So we'll see. We'll be rooting for him big time. But shout out to Tiafo.
I've got two shout outs.
All right.
Shout out to Sue Bird.
Yes.
Never to watch. Shout out to her, calling her career and staying in the WNBA and women's basketball. Shout out to my girl Angel McCoughtry, because she has a song, her song, that will be in the NBA 2K game this year. So
wow. Was she happy with her song's rating? Because apparently there's some discrepancy on the ratings.
And they don't rate
the song? Okay, thank God, because she'd be on Twitter much like Kevin Durant.
Yeah, but Angel has her. She started her second career, and
that's awesome.
She's got a song. She's rapping on it, and it'll be featured in 2K.
Does she have bars? That's the real question. Does Angel McCoughtry have bars?
Angel does a little bit of everything. Angel sings, Angel raps, Angel is she is one of a kind.
She's one of a kind. There you go. All right, awesome. That's awesome. To the surprise of no one, Charlie, who are you giving your shout out to? As if we didn't know.
Yes, shout out to my Seminoles for finding a way to win that football game against LSU on Sunday. It was a great game in a sense of just excitement, highs and lows, but I'm glad we were able to come out on top. And also, we're having our ring ceremony on, what's today, Thursday? Tomorrow. So our rings, we'll be getting our state championship ring. So shout out to our state championship team and all those that will be receiving their rings for their accomplishment on last season. So
awesome.
And that was a Charlie Ward humble flex.
How is that on a shout out?
You literally just said you're getting your championship rings.
Yes, that's true.
It is. It's always true, Charlie. It's always true.
How's that a humble flex? We're getting our championship rings, and I'm shouting out the guys who.
Well, Charlie, it wasn't an arrogant flex. It was humble. You were just saying we were the best last year, and we're gonna be rewarded with these wonderful championship rings. I'm here for it, Charlie. I'm here for it.
I still don't understand it.
We expect that ring soon.
What?
We expect to see that ring on the show.
That is exactly right. But listen, Charlie. If it brings any balance to you, Kendrick came on our show last night and he got humble flex to death last night. He was humble flex McGee last night.
For nothing.
That's not true. That is not true.
Humble flex was sitting outside. I've been sitting outside for 2 months.
Hey, on the 5, we don't sit outside. So they made notice of it. They humble flex you. That's how it works. So there you go. Their humble flex standards are a lot lower. So there you go.
80 degrees here in the summer.
Well, congratulations, Charlie. That's awesome, man. Can't wait to see. Do you like the design of the? Do you have any input on the design of the ring, or it's just pretty standard?
No, we had input.
So all the diamonds and all the diamonds that it'll have and everything, it'll be.
We can't afford diamonds. So it's gonna be a tad less than the Rams ring. Is what you're telling me. Yeah,
I got it.
Okay. And it's not gaudy looking.
Can I be honest? Can we just have one more honest moment? I don't like the new championship rings of these. They're getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bulkier. And I don't know if you're supposed to have like a whole building on your finger. That's weird to me. But
I'm fine with that for like professionals. But like you seeing that stuff for like some of these high school kids, I'm like, give them something to look forward to when they get older. You don't have to give them everything now.
Well, listen. The ring thing has gotten out of control. You know, you saw that they gave out championship rings to the summer league champions. So when we're doing that, I think we've lost perspective, to say the least. So listen, always fun. It's been a great weekend, or great week rather. Great weekend of opening college football. Looking forward to this weekend of college football getting started, as well as tonight the NFL begins. So we are back in full swing, ladies and gentlemen. And so we look forward to all of the things that are going on around us in sports. This is like the fun time of the year where all the sports collide together, or they're starting to collide together. I'll say it that way. Soon, training camps are going to be opening up in the NBA, and college basketball is about to get going back as well. So it's just a fun time. The fall is a fun time. So, by the way, shout out again to Dion and an unbelievably first week with Shador. That dude started the game 10 for 10 with 3 touchdowns. Jesus, man. Talk about perspective. Huh?
He's pretty good.
first 17.
I thought it was the first 17. I couldn't remember. That's why I didn't want to put it out there, but I thought it was the first 17. You're correct. He's pretty good at the football. The young man
to throw to.
Oh, for sure. All right. Well, listen, that is the sportscaster of the year, and really the singular sportscaster of the year. Now that I have the inside information, and then that is the state championship coach and Heisman Trophy winner Charlie Ward. I'm Lloyd Spence. And a national championship. Well, that national championship thing, as the years go on, it pales in comparison to his new
That's not important. That's important.
Well, I'll keep mentioning it then. I'll keep mentioning it. And every time we mention it, we do this.
And that was a Charlie Ward humble flex.
With that being said,
Charlie.
I just lob them up and wait for you to knock them out, Charlie. That's what I do. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one. You've been listening to Believe in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard. And join us next time.